Assalamu alaikum, Anar. How you doing?
Alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah, bro. I'm doing
Well,
good.
we're finally doing our first live stream session slash podcast, whatever it ends up becoming. Right now, we're gonna see and figure it out. And the last time we tried to do it, it was not a good experience.
Took a while. Took a while. We can say
It
that.
took a while, and
But Alhamdulillah, we're here now. So that's.
Alhamdulillah, we're here now. And I'm gonna go on YouTube and see if I can see ourselves live.
Oh, really? It's connected to
Well,
YouTube.
I don't know yet because technically we should be going live on YouTube. So let me see
And to
if.
anyone who is watching this right now, this is really just our first live. We don't really know how to do this one, so we're quite new to this broadcasting
But
world.
we're experts,
But we'll act like we're experts for sure.
bro. There's already a Convey Islam. Oh, there's a. Okay, wait. Bro. Okay, I'm sending you a link on WhatsApp. Click on this link.
Are we on YouTube?
Yeah, I can't see this link from my desktop for some reason. Try clicking on it.
Yeah, we are indeed live. We are indeed live. I see
All
us live.
right, all right, all right.
This is quite interesting. Should we send this to other people?
Can you see the chat?
Can I see the chat? Let me see. In
You
the
said I am here. Well, you said that to me, but then I said, hey, Anar.
hmm, I said I'm here in private chat, so I didn't say it in public. But yeah, there's a comment
Okay, you
section.
have to go to comments.
Yeah, yeah.
Private chat is just between us. And then if you go to comments, you can see. Okay, nice, nice. It's working.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like we are finally live.
So if
Okay.
we're gonna have somebody walk in, then I think we should hear a sound. I turned that feature on,
Yeah.
so it's gonna
Well,
let
well,
us know that
well,
some.
well, well done to you for organizing this. I mean, this is good. I'm quite
Bro,
impressed.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But then right now we're using the free version. So for the free version, we can do just basically these streaming thing. But
hmm
then you're gonna see their logo, StreamYard logo on the corner, and you can record. You so when it goes on YouTube, it's just gonna record the whole thing and just put it there. But then you can't download it for yourself. So it has quite a lot of limitations. And if you wanna upload your own stuff, your own videos, and all those kind of things. That's also limited in the free version, but it's not that expensive. It's just $25 a month, so that's not bad, bro.
No, this is. I think for the beginning, as we're just starting out with this whole thing, it's good enough to
Yeah, it
invite a
says
couple of
we
people
have
as well.
two viewers. Hello,
Do we?
or is it just the two of us?
It probably is two of us, I would imagine. If you guys watching us, please put a comment on YouTube so we know you guys are watching. But I think it's just
Okay,
us.
nice.
Though I did invite a couple of people to come see it. Okay, let's get started. Like I think because people are gonna watch this and this will be on YouTube, so let's get going.
Okay.
All right. So shall I go ahead and share ChatGPT, or should we
Yeah.
talk?
So, but before we go on to ChatGPT, should we share what we're about, or should we just eventually do it if some people come in?
No, I think you can go ahead. Like you can describe what Convey Islam
Okay,
is.
okay. So this is the first. This is our launch for our platform, Convey Islam. And Convey Islam is an idea that Anar and I we came up with because we live in Canada and we're both from different backgrounds. Anar is from Azerbaijan and from Pakistan, and even on top of that, we have completely different backgrounds, except that we went to the same school and met in class and whatnot. And so we were around a lot of non-Muslims and Muslims and people from all different walks of life. And uh, And while just going through school and everything, we just saw that there was a need for very basic questions that, for example, in philosophy classes, like what is the meaning of life and stuff like that, or are there aliens out there, or what have you, you know? And a lot of these, or do we even have free will? And yeah, sure, these are good questions, but for Muslims, they don't really take up our thinking process most of the time, and it was also a lot of finding ourselves through all of this. And so we created or are creating a platform where we're going to be talking about Islamic issues or anything related to Islam, and getting deep into issues. And Anar loves to get deep into things, and he goes really deep, and he can just take one topic and get into it very academically, from not just the Islamic perspective, but from a comparative religion perspective. So that's really cool, and I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in that. And so we have conveyislam.com, which is the main web platform that we're building, which is still in its initial stages. We're polishing it out and everything. And other than that, this YouTube thing we're gonna have. We haven't decided how frequent the YouTube stream is going to be, but then how it's going to look is and this is of course all tentative right now, but right now what we've talked about so far is that we record one session per week, 120 minutes or 2 hours like that, and then have that divided into 2 3 long video sessions, and then those sessions are just scheduled to go out every week. And then out of those things we have short segments which go on different platforms like TikTok or what have you. And so just basically putting out Islamic, interesting, accessible content for everybody, and conveying Islam. So
Said it,
that's
said it best. Said it best.
thank you, thank
Well,
you.
in this particular video, we decided to play around with ChatGPT. I don't know at what point people are watching this. They might be watching it a year, 2 years down the line. At this time, a couple months ago, ChatGPT just came out. For those who don't know, it's just an AI that is answering questions. You can ask it any question, it answers it in a way by collecting information from the internet. And we thought to basically go ahead and ask some of our hot questions about Islam to ChatGPT.
All right,
Shall we?
yeah, let's go for
Let's go.
it.
Let's go. Okay, so
And then
here's
also one more thing. So if somebody's watching this right now, which I don't think zero sad, but down the road if somebody watches it or whoever's listening, Anar and I, we both have experience in computer science and artificial intelligence, and there's a lot of fear about, oh, AI is gonna come and take all our jobs and stuff like that. And so we're quite critical about how things actually work in terms against how the media actually shows it. So you can also talk to us about those things as well. Yeah, go for it, Anar.
I'm just looking for a tab. Sorry guys, this is first time using this thing. One
What is
second.
that? Is that the ice cream truck?
Kinda. It is an ice cream track. Didn't go as planned. Let me just turn off my camera. I'll be back in a second.
What is
But yeah,
that, bro? Okay. Well, we can still hear you, bro.
yeah.
All
So
right.
good to get started. So you guys can see my screen. Does
Yeah.
everyone see it?
Yeah.
Nice. You want to go first with the questions, or shall we ask ChatGPT?
Okay. Let's share the Chat GPT screen. 1 second. Okay. Now can you go on YouTube and see if this Chat GPT screen is visible or not?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, if the text is readable, or should we
Yeah,
make it
yeah,
bigger?
yeah. It's totally visible. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So, what questions you got?
Okay. So I guess the first question is why Islam is true. I think it's a heavy
Okay,
question.
that's a
Yeah.
good one.
Let's see what it says.
Getting into it.
Maybe let's go even better. Before we even get into religion, let's actually ask why believe in God, and let's see what it comes up with. For those who never use ChatGPT, it tends to give quite politically correct answers, so it doesn't always go in that
Yeah, and can
polemic.
sometimes be absolutely wrong.
Yeah. So let's take a look. So I'll just read it out and then let's have a discussion on
Yeah.
this. So believing God is a personal and subjective decision, as I expected, quite politically correct, that can stem from various factors such as religious teachings, spiritual experiences, cultural influences, personal convictions. Some people believe in God as a higher power or ultimate authority, while others may find comfort in the idea of an afterlife or the idea that there is a purpose of meaning to life. Ultimately, the reason why someone chooses to believe in God is unique to each individual and can be influenced by a variety of factors.
All right.
What do we think?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a good answer, but then of course, like you just said, it's got substance and it's politically correct. But of course, it's not gonna be like just just say the Shahada version of AI. Be like, yeah, there's only one God and Muhammad is his son.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect that. I think
Yeah, yeah.
I find that it misses some of the key points why people believe in God, right? And it makes a separation. And one of the things I hear that already stands out to me, it separates God and high power. And the only reason it does it is because if you look into religions like Christianity, God is a personal God, right? Meaning God as a person,
Mm.
right? So if you think of Trinity, at least in my understanding of Christianity, they say there are three parts of God, right? Which we don't believe in, obviously. But the general concept of Christianity is there is a Father, Holy Spirit, and Jesus, right? So all in one. So they see Jesus as God. So for them, because and I have a feeling, obviously, because ChatGPT was developed by developers in the West, I have a feeling that to some extent, and a lot of existing religious literature in English has more to do with Christianity than Islam. Let's be honest about this, right? Because Christianity has been around in the West for, well, for 2,000 years now, really, right? So obviously, there's more information on that. So in Christianity, there is a separation, right, where you have God as an actual person, right, and then you have God, which obviously people, because of the fitra, and for those who don't know, fitra is in Islam we believe to be a natural predisposition. Most people who become atheists here, can't just accept the fact that God is in human form. So they say, I believe in higher power, I don't believe in Jesus. What they really mean, they say, I believe in higher power, I don't believe in God. What they really mean is that not that they don't believe in God, is they believe they don't mean in a God in a personal form, aka Christian Trinity, right? If you look at Islam, though, I think our concept of God is very different. And I always think of Surah Al Ikhlas, and I'm going to butcher it. I'm not an Arabic speaker, so I'm not perfect in it. But
Yeah.
my understanding is Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid wa Lam Yulad. Um, Obviously, I can forget.
Allah Samad.
Yeah. Allahu Samad, Allahu. Can't believe I messed it up on a stream. Allahu
Yeah, it's
Ahad,
all good.
Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid wa Lam Yulad wa Lam Yakun Kufuwan Ahad. Right?
Okay.
So he is God, he is one. He has no children, neither he begets, neither he's begotten, and there is of him no likeness. Right? So immediately here, I think our Islamic definition of God is exactly that: it's higher power. So I know I went down the long path, but really, what the whole message here is: in Islam, we do not separate higher power and God. Whereas in Christianity, I feel, not to say that Christianity separates that, but Christianity has a personal God. So from my experience, when a Western person tells me, and by Western I mean Western Europe, right, or U.S. or Canada, when a Western person tells me they do not believe in God, but they believe in higher power, what they really mean in most cases is, I don't believe Jesus is God, but
Ah,
there's a higher
okay.
power.
Okay. So it's the anthropomorphized version of God that when people think of God in the West, basically as the man in the sky or like some old wise guy up in the heavens, and so like a human version of it, and they think that it can't be like that, so it must be a higher power.
Again, it's fitra, right? Because the natural fitra of people rejects that idea, which is, again, I've tremendous respect for Christianity, but to me, because I'm a revert, for those who don't know, and when I was reverting to the religion of Islam, one of the things, a buddy of mine texted me now. I think he's watching.
You want to see?
Interesting. Is the way is okay? Interesting. I gotta. Wow. Is there a possibility to put the stream on pause? Because I never get emergency messages, and in the middle of the stream, I'm getting an emergency message, and this is really interesting. Is there a way to put it on pause?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never been in this situation before, so let's figure it out. I don't know, man.
Well, how about this? Okay, we covered this point of higher power and God. What I wanted to maybe go deeper, and I will need to jump off for 2 minutes. But I would need to what I would like us to look deeper in is, oh, one thing I think that ChatGPT didn't mention is a natural instinct to believe in God. Right? As a kid, I've always had an urge to believe in God, and I think
So
most
where
people,
does it say natural instinct?
it doesn't say it, and that's, I think, one of the big things is missing. I think I remember as a child, I found prayer very attractive, even though my father was an atheist, right? Like I had an attraction to an idea of prayer, and I naturally had a predisposition to want to pray, even though my father would tell me that there is no God, for instance, right? So to me,
Uh,
when present, because my father was an atheist, my mother wasn't really at the time; she was a religious woman, so there was no religiosity around me, but I was aware of concept of God, obviously through movies or cartoons, etc., right? And even though my father would teach me and tell me that this is an irrational concept, I still had a predisposition to believe in it, and we see that a lot among kids, right? And there's even research, Dr. Barrett's research on called innate believers, or born believers. People can go Google it, Born Believers by Dr. Barrett. And there's Oxford University research that talks about, there's the Oxford University um, there's Oxford University research that talks about innate predisposition to believe in God. So instinct of God, there are evidences that this thing exists in scientific world, and I definitely seen it in my own life. And I would like to talk more about this. I need to just for a second to turn myself off. But
yeah,
if
yeah.
you talk to
Sounds
our
good.
audience
Sounds
about
good.
instinct of God, I think this is an interesting thing to
Sounds
look into.
good. You can drop out and then you can join back in while I will take over the screen. And let's ask ChatGPT some questions. I gotta get rid of another screen or figure out how I can do that for myself. Huh. Maybe you
Actually,
can't
I
do.
have a sorry. I know I came back out of nowhere. I have good news. A friend of mine. Oh, I think he's still hearing us. A
Yeah.
friend of mine is joining us, and he's an actual big time atheist. So we actually will have an atheist joining this live stream. So I think this would be,
Is this Marco?
yeah. This is Marco. I don't know if
All
you ever met
right, all
Marco.
right.
So we're gonna get Marco here. So he should join us. I just gonna sorry
Did you
guys. I
send him
know.
the link?
No, he's gonna come home. He's locked out of his house, so he's coming to my apartment right now. So you're gonna join with me here. Uh, Bosco.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's continue.
Okay.
Yeah. So what did you tell them about instinct? I mean, I think this is an interesting
No, I didn't
conversation.
talk about instinct. I was figuring out how to share my own screen so that I could take over ChatGPT and ask my own questions too. I was troubleshooting that, and then he just came in at that moment.
No, I want to talk about instinct because I think this is something that's overlooked by many atheists. And I had this conversation once with with an atheist person, and he told me, he says, okay, if obviously I don't believe anyone can disprove Quran because I believe Quran to be a direct word of God, and the evidences it brought forward to me resonate with my heart fully. But I had an atheist and he had a conversation. He told me, if I can disprove you Quran, would you stop believing in God? I said no. He said, why? I said, look, even if we assume that Quran was wrong, which it isn't, but even if we assume it was, the natural instinct was there my whole life. Like for those who don't know, I'm a convert to Islam. I converted to Islam 3 years ago. I was born in Azerbaijan, which is very secular. Um, there are mosques in Azerbaijan. There are a lot of Muslims in Azerbaijan, but it's more cultural Islam, where you would go to the mosque maybe once in a couple months and go for a prayer. And that's really about it, right? Like some people would not drink alcohol. Maybe some people will pray 5 times a day, but it's not very consistent with people. You know, it's like it's some people do, some people don't. It's kind of it's not something that is very frequently discussed in Azerbaijani society in general. Islam is more it's quite secular country, right? Some people are Muslim, some people are traditional Muslims, which really just means they're not really practicing it as a religion. So to me, um, even though I wasn't at the time, I wasn't Muslim. I was more like, I guess, just not affiliated with the religion at the time. I had a natural disposition to believe in God, always, even though my father told me the opposite. So I think the natural instinct is there, and that's what we need to discuss. And that's what when I talk to atheists, they're like, why do you believe in God? I said, look, the main argument that overcomes any other argument is it instinctively feels right, and that's the reason why if you go to see indigenous people in here in Canada, for instance, they have a science world here in Vancouver. If you go
Yeah.
there, you actually see the writings of this indigenous people on canoe and or on some other documents. You'll see that they say God created a universe, then came to water, flew over water, and to went to how's it called? He's actually. I want him to join for this particular conversation because I think this is very, very interesting. We're gonna have an atheist discussing it with us. So I think this is very, very interesting. So I want him to come in for this particular conversation. But if you go to indigenous people and you see this indigenous people, bro, alhamdulillah, look at this. We just started the first stream, and then we have an atheist joining immediately. It's crazy. So with if you go and see that, right, with indigenous people who
Yeah.
were not really exposed to religion, right, this is their own native thing. They had a concept of God. Okay, he's coming. Okay, 1 second.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, an atheist joining our stream.
He's here.
He's here. He's gonna join in a second. And just to give, I know if anyone watches it right now, obviously, guys, the discussion we're having, we asked ChatGPT, why believe in
Bro,
God?
you gotta introduce me first. Like,
I
you
will. I
know,
will introduce you. I will introduce you to our
just
atheist
talk to a
friend.
random guy.
He's joining here with us. We don't have any viewers right now. So it's our first stream. So come on. Okay, let's see if I.
Come on.
Just 1 second. He's joining us. Can we edit the stream later on, or no? It just goes directly to YouTube.
I think if you pay for it, then yes, we can.
In paid version, we can.
Yeah,
Okay, our
we can
atheist
even
friend.
set up additional
So, okay,
cameras.
our atheist friend is a bit busy.
Huh?
So, but we go back to our discussion. So, what I was saying, right? When you go to indigenous people, you see indigenous people in Australia, in South America, right? You see the same, well, different concepts of God, but they're quite apparent in all those cultures universally, right?
And the general consensus right now is that it looks like this at any given point, people tend to develop belief in God. There was a research done with, actually, the research done with hunter-gatherer societies, and they looked at hunter-gatherer societies that don't really have a concept of personable God, right? So they looked at the statistic, and they found out that, let's say, 37% of the hunter-gatherers, they have a concept of high God, which they develop at any given point. But usually when they say high God, is a personable God. But 100% of them, 100, without any single exception, they had some form of spirituality and animism, which is animism, you believe in a force that animates the universe. So for me, I think this is where it gets really interesting.
So how do you bring it back to ChatGPT?
Okay, so he's all atheist friend. Come here.
How's it going? Hello.
Come here.
Let me get a glass of water.
A glass of water? I'll give you.
Nah, this is a glass.
Come on, bro.
Yeah,
Show him your Muslim hospitality, bro.
Sorry, bro. We're in the street, bro. We have people watching, so I'm trying to.
You can edit it, man. Edit it.
I don't think so because it's already on YouTube. It's like directly connected to YouTube.
Yeah, but you can edit the best clips of it, man.
Yeah,
Joe Rogan
okay.
does that shit.
So we can do this. Okay. So we have an atheist here. This is Marco.
Hello. I'm atheist Marco. I'm agnostic.
Okay, he's agnostic. Sorry.
Atheist Marco. That's quite an introduction.
Marco, this is Risala. He's our buddy, our friend. I knew this guy for
I've heard a lot about you, Marco.
He's a hardcore Muslim. So
Okay.
we're having
I'm a what?
GPT. He's hardcore Muslim, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I tried to be.
So, Marco, here's the discussion we're having, right? This is what our viewers are seeing. We asked ChatGPT why believe in God. So, I want to actually, this is very, very interesting because we can get agnostic perspective. So, what I'm thinking, and this is generally seems to be a consensus, is that believing God is instinctual. That's the argument I think we're making. We're seeing that ChatGPT is not mentioned.
Sure. Like, I would probably agree that it's instinctual, but a lot of things are instinctual, and it doesn't mean they're right.
So,
Right?
this is
Yeah,
right.
that's a
Typical.
Wait, is that right or wrong? Right there.
Can you give me an example of something that is instinctual that is wrong? Like, what would that
Well,
be?
raping.
Yeah, so
It's
Or
pretty.
you might want to steal.
do you think so though? Because
Yeah.
why is it that every society across the history has seen rape as a wrong thing to do? Even if you look at the
But that was it wasn't instinctual, so we had to make up rules to battle that instinctuality of it.
Wait, so you're saying rape is not instinctual?
can we ask
No,
ChatGPT,
I'm saying rape is instinctual.
is rape instinctual?
Animals do it.
Yeah. So what was your point about the society making laws around it? I didn't get that.
No, it doesn't.
So ChatGPT has a different opinion though.
No, it says it's whack. It goes off sometimes because. So look here, read it.
No, rape is not considered to be an instinctual behavior in humans or any other species. Rape is a form of sexual violence that is characterized by the use of force, coercion, etc. So obviously, ChatGPT tends
Of course, that's what it's gonna say.
It's obviously gonna say that, but
Yeah.
come on, looking at other animals, dude. Other animals rape each other all the time, dude. Dogs rape, like male dogs rape female dogs, 100%. You?
Yeah. But there is certain. Do they though? Because let's look at pride, right? Lion pride. Because I like to watch videos of lions. And if there are 2 or 3 male lions, it's typically one male lion that has access to particular females.
Yeah.
And then the other one only gets like maybe one other female or 2 other. But I don't think they're.
But when they take over another pride, they rape the females. They do.
But
Yeah,
They do, right? They do.
Realistic instinct, and if you go down to our primal natures, yeah, sure, we're all about rape, and when men
Exactly.
go to wars and they rape and pillage.
Oh yeah, and wars too. We rape like crazy, dude.
But here's the thing, right?
Oh, imagine how much rape was going on when it was just cavemen. Oh my
But
god,
have you
dude,
noticed-
so much rape.
But have you noticed that the rape is something that tends to be done against another tribe or nation, but it's not common for the particular tribe. So
Yeah, but I'm just saying
wrong.
there's things that are instinctual in humanity that It doesn't mean just because they're instinctual, they're right. You know, that's my whole kind of premise behind this is there's bad things that humans do that instinctually that aren't in like their best nature as well, right? Like
Do
in
you
their
think there are two types of instincts? And I'll explain what I mean. Do you think there is a actual biological instincts where desire of sex,
yeah, there you go.
and there's actual emotional instinct like consciousness? Meaning, what I mean by consciousness, you know, when you do something, you feel not consciousness, but feeling of guilt.
Mm.
You know, like you do something to somebody, and you feel guilt.
Mm.
I don't think guilt is something we necessarily learn because we feel it. And I would feel it as a kid as well. So here's the thing. Why, if rape is instinctual, why do we see rapists having a sense of guilt about it?
Well, first of all, not always.
Not always, sure.
Yeah.
But there are cases of people having guilt that is associated
Oh,
with
for sure. Yeah. There, guilt is so humans are just like we're a societal animal, right? We live in societies and groups. We're like really drawn to groups and structures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's where everything comes from, right? It's just even religion itself. That's what I think that religion is just a part of the evolutionary process of human beings. It's a part of time where humans needed this thing to explain certain things, but now I believe that we're past that time.
So why are people religious today?
Well, because the world's shit. Because the world's really shitty and really hard, man. It's like I can never fault somebody for believing in religion. I used to, but the thing about it is that when I actually think about it and I think about who the most religious people are, it's usually the people that are not doing too well and they need something to get them through the day. You know what I mean? And
That is actually true.
a reason to live.
Yeah. It's
Right?
mostly poor people that are religious.
Exactly. Look at Africa. Look how religious Africa is, dude. They're so religious, dude. I saw a documentary where there was I think, imam who was selling holy water, or maybe it was a Christian, but he was selling holy water, and people were paying a shitload of money, and they're dirt poor people paying a shitload of money for holy water that's been blessed by him, and it's actually. He combined chemicals inside of it, and it's actually really dangerous shit that he put in there. And he's calling it that it'll bless them and shit.
You know, it makes me think of actually this idea that he just presented is mentioned both in Quran and in the Bible as well. Because I'm gonna quote Jesus here, right, which is from the Bible, not even from our holy book. But Jesus said it's easier for an elephant to pass through the ear of the
Camel.
needle.
You said camel.
Camel through the ear of a needle than for a rich man to be in heaven. Right, and this is really true, like in many ways, right? Meaning, rich people or people that are blessed in life, they tend to be less religious. I've noticed it as well. Like even in Azerbaijan, most religious, like it's very weird. Like I'm from Azerbaijan, right? And Rizal, you know, I was secular. You know, I was like this guy. Well, not like I believed in God always, but I was closer to him than to you at the time, 3 years ago.
Okay.
It's because I'm from a well-off family in Azerbaijan, which has allowed me to be a little bit like I believed in God always, but I kind of didn't associate with a religion. And then I became a Muslim. So that's why it's weird for someone like me to do that because I kind of have everything. But in Azerbaijan, most people that are religious are people who are in a lower financial class. But here's what I want to ask, and this is a question I always ask agnostics or atheists or people who are not theists, right? It's a question I always puzzled me. Okay, so it looks like believing in God is instinctual. We don't have a solid proof, but we have some research, scientific research that backs it up. We have certain evidences to say that it's instinctual.
Lots of things that are instinctual, yeah, for sure.
Why fight something that is instinctual and doesn't harm you?
It does.
How does believing God harms you?
It does. So there's benefits, right? But there's pros and cons to everything, right? So, there's pros and cons to everything. That's the first point, I guess. So there is pros to religion, right? There's a certain ability to build discipline, which is always rewarded in societies, right? Through discipline, right? You pray 5 times a day, right? You both probably pray 5 times a day, and that just means that you're building discipline, doing something regularly. You're getting better at something. You're probably able to clear your mind better focus better during that time. and like all that kind of can lead to other.
But not even religion.
cascading
Let's
stuff.
put religion to the side, right?
But okay, and
Theism in
then
general.
so that's the pros. You already know the pros because you probably know the pros. But community, sense of purpose, those are all really the pros of
No, but let's
religion.
not
But the
go down
big
there.
con of religion, let me get to this just real quick, because you asked the question. I just want to answer it completely.
Yeah.
So those are the pros, and hopefully you know the rest of the pros. But the big con is the ability to attach ideologies that are not logical and inhumane, unethical, irrational.
Like stoning people and stuff. Right?
Stoning people, hating on gay people, just like things that are just like, oh yeah, obviously, like why, like there's no real good reason, and also the ability to control and the lack of critical thinking, because so let's say if you were told, hey, this is the purpose in life, your whole life, okay? If I told you for your whole entire life, this is the purpose of life, and there's a certain pro to it, which is like now you have a purpose and now you know where to go, right? But the con to that is that now you're not critically thinking about life. And when you're not critically thinking about life and just taking it from a book instead, you're actually losing some of what it is to be alive, because there's so many perspectives to it and there's so much complexity to it.
So you went a different route, and I want to address this because you made something that I actually disagree with. I do understand. I understand the main premise, and there definitely can be harm done by any belief system, whether it be religion or communism or capitalism or any of the belief systems can affect you, right? Because even capitalism can be radical.
It can be,
If you see what US has been doing in Iraq for the money and stuff, maybe I shouldn't go in that many detail. We can get canceled. But that definitely was driven by capitalism. But okay. Here's the thing, and I wanted to go a different route, but I want to mention this real quick for the viewers, because there might be viewers. I don't think we have any viewers right now. Maybe we do, I don't know. But don't you think that when you have a completely atheistic society, or let's say agnostic society, right, where basically you don't have a traditional, I'll use Judeo-Christian here, even though I'm a Muslim, because I think West is mainly,
use Muslim.
Well, let's say Judeo-Christian.
Let's say go Muslim because nobody really talks about it that much. So.
Well, let's talk about Judeo-Christian / Islamic, because to be honest, all the Muslim values are also in the Bible. Like I can show
it's pretty same.
Yeah, it's the same idea, right? Like don't kill, don't steal, don't.
But I heard that the Quran has a lot of its political, economic, as well.
So there's elements of charity, but they're also in the Bible. Actually, you guys are.
Well, isn't there an economic system as well? No.
Yeah, there is. Is based. A lot of it is based on hadiths, though.
Okay.
Right.
But the additions.
Yeah, but the moral basis of the Quran is question number 2. So, for example, treat thy neighbor like yourself.
Yeah.
This is both in the Quran and in Bible. It's just in Quran it's a bit different form, but it's also in the Bible, right? So here's the thing, right? I'm looking at the modern day, very left wing, very non-religious society, and there are certain elements of a social decay. Let me explain that to you, right? For example, I was watching another day this idea of a transableism, which is you can now identify as a disabled person, right? Meaning, what I mean by that, not that you're disabled, but you can choose to make yourself disabled, like cut your own eyes, and that can be your actual identity. And this is I've seen that on Instagram, and you guys can find it on Google it. So to me, that sounds like a little bit, not a little bit, this is quite a bit of extreme of what we encourage people to do. And I think when I see religion, I think it provides certain boundaries within which society can exist. And there's certain contract between us. So for example, one example, I'm not saying religious people don't cheat, they do. But statistically, on every single statistic I've seen, religious people tend to score lower on infidelity, substantially lower, like
because they have purpose and stuff,
right?
Yeah.
So if infidelity would be 50% among non-religious people, it would be quite a bit lower among religious people. They still cheat, but quite a bit lower. If we look at marriage and happiness score in marriage, I was looking at religious.
Check out that fact, actually. Check out that fact real quick. Ask ChatGPT.
Well, it's quite politically correct. So
what percentage of people? What percentage of religious people versus non-religious people cheat?
Do religious people?
Yeah, they do, obviously.
Do religious people engage less in infidelity?
Yeah, something like that. Sure.
All right, let's take a look at that. So some studies indicate that it's less, while others found no significant
Oh,
difference.
okay.
So, but it's
Wait. Some studies suggest that religious people will be less.
okay.
On the
So
other hand, other studies does not always translate into less intelligence. Oh, okay.
okay.
Okay, there you go.
So generally, there seems to be, regardless of
it's
statistics,
close. It's close.
but slightly less.
Slightly less. Sure.
Okay.
I'll give it to you.
Well, isn't it a benefit though?
right?
No,
Come on,
but-
man.
No, but like, isn't it a benefit?
Inconclusive, and you're like, this is it.
Okay, all right.
This is what I'm.
Let me give you another example.
Let's get inconclusive
Let me
evidence.
let me
This is
let me
what I'm
okay.
gonna use
Let
today.
me, let me give you another example. Let me give you another.
Like,
example.
come on, you got to do a little bit
All
better.
right. Okay. Can I give you?
I
Another,
think.
Can I give you another example?
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
Okay. So if I
Better
know,
example.
if I so his girlfriend's name. Well, I don't want to say his girlfriend's name. It's a life. But if I knock on your door,
Mhm.
unless I don't know you're home, and she opens the door, I'll say, "Is Mark at home?" She says, "No, I leave." I would not be at your home if you're not at home. That's as a Muslim, Rizal, don't we have that concept as Muslims?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Well, is it a thing, right? Like, for example, would you knock on your door and if the
But what
man-
if you're like waiting
So
for
there's
me?
this concept about mahram and non-mahram, and so
Right.
you can't be around girls that are not your mahram.
yeah. So, for example, I would not be in a house
Hmm.
when, let's say, your wife is there and you're not. Right. I would say, "Is he at home?" She will say, "No." I'll say, "Okay, I'll come back when he's here." It's a thing. It's a Muslim Islamic thing.
Hmm.
Now you will say, "Oh, who cares?" It does make a difference, though, right? Because if you
Yeah.
look at it, if I'm looking at a very secular society, I mean, how many guys do you guys know whose best friend slept with another man's
Girl.
wife? I know,
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of situations like that.
That's
And it's more common among non-religious people than it is among religious people.
But we just asked ChatGPT, so we gotta go on the. You're now taking anecdotal evidence.
Okay,
and,
but let's
applying
put
it,
an
trying to
example.
apply it
If they
objectively.
live by the rule, if they live by the religious rule that you are not allowed to be in a house with a woman you're not related alone with for no purpose whatsoever, right?
There's still like, look, they did a study, man. There's people who cheat. Yeah, they find a way to
Yeah,
cheat.
but look,
what
ChatGPT
it
is
is.
calculated correct. But even ChatGPT tells you that there is statistical evidence. But put that aside. Just take
says
the rule. Take the rule as a whole, right? Take a religious rule that says, okay, you can't enter.
Yeah, but look at the rule not to kill, or not to kill in the Bible, and then even the law says not to kill, and then still people kill. So, dude, people.
Okay,
cheat,
let me ask you another question.
and it looks like they cheat actually, surprisingly, both similarly.
So let me ask you another question.
So-
Who engages more in casual sex, religious people or non-religious people? Let's say Muslims or not. Okay, let's not even say religious. I know this for a fact. Do Muslims engage more in casual sex than or non-Muslims, in your opinion?
Obviously, yeah, I would say like non-religious people engage more in
Engage more.
casual sex.
So
yeah.
there's a research right now that shows that a higher body count, and this is, I hope I don't get canceled for this, but there's an actual research evidence that we can Google right now.
Okay, let's do it. Let's see this
Well,
evidence.
let me say it first, right? So women,
Mhm.
it affects women more than men, by the way. I don't know why. Don't ask me. That's what research says. Women with a body count over 3 tend to be more likely
Mhm.
to divorce their partner. Like,
I don't know.
and we can actually look at the statistics. So let's say body count.
Can you pull this paper up? Or
Yeah, I can pull that. Body count women and likelihood of divorce. Right. So let's take a look. And this is not my words, guys. So which one of this you want to open?
Sure, there.
Okay. These are countries. Okay. Women who have more non-marital sexual partner are less likely to have stable marriages. Okay, let's open it up. Let's see what's happening here. I'm going to pull it so that our viewers see it. Okay. So number of lifetime non-marital sexual partners. Okay. And percentage of percentage of sexually active women age 30, and let's see, female promiscuity and divorce risk is a popular talking point in marriage. If you're an ex-red pillar, I don't know what that is. Chances are you have seen variation of this graph from the Heritage Foundation, which represents how odds of being stable marriage decreases as the number of premarital sex partners increases. It's also very likely that you have seen this other graph. So it looks like this guy is gonna debunk it right now. I might not lie, but they're considered miscontrol. Okay, but he admits here.
He debunks it, right?
But he looks at, but they're not considered miscontrol by those with an. But okay, but let's take a look. No. But one second. His statement is very clear. Numbers don't lie, though, right?
Numbers
So
might.
this is something I learned about this data from reading unlikely source. Okay, so he goes down the right, but this is an actual study. So he goes to manosphere and stuff.
Well,
I don't
he
wanna go
disproves
down.
it. Looks like.
Okay, what's his zip?
No, go down. Go to his conclusion.
The
Keep going.
books also calculate the correlation between the number of partners before the first marriage and the likelihood of that marriage to fail. He found a very interesting trend illustrated in the graph below. Women who have more premarital sexual partners are more likely to fail in the first marriage. Still, like, what is this? 3 partners increases, 3, 4, same. What is this? What is blue?
0?
What is blue?
That's not even that big.
Okay, different data shows different things. So if she has 0, she's less likely.
It's not that big of a difference, though.
It goes from 15% to 40% at 3.
At
At
2.
But then it drops at 3.
But then yeah.
So one thing we can say, like, if she never engaged, I don't know why they only made it.
But
for
also, like, first of all, wait. So you want women to have less sexual partners?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying.
Why? Like,
No, I'm not saying that.
let them do what they want. you know?
No. I'm not saying. No. Listen.
Like what? That's,
I'm
you
not
know?
saying you are forcing somebody not to do what they want. That's not the statement I'm making.
What do you think?
The statement I'm making, if it's a religious society and they make a choice themselves to not engage in that, it appears, at least from some of the data we see, it looks like it can suggest that this families will be more stable. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
So,
force. I'm not using the word force. I'm saying it might be better for society overall if they make a personal choice of
Okay.
following this Judeo-Christian.
Cool. So that's like your pro example. What about the con example? Iran. Look what's happening in Iran right now.
I agree. But
What's happening in Iran? What about
like
Iran?
it's like massive countrywide protests.
Yeah, but
against-
okay, one more thing. So yeah, sure, that's happening, but then you also see the Western side of it, and then a lot of that is happening for right reasons. It's an oppressive regime, whatnot, blah blah. But it's not like how. No, let me finish. But it's not how.
Go on. Turn up.
So you got to understand. So it's like when Kim Kardashian, on all these celebrities, all of a sudden they start caring about these Muslim women, bro. Like it's a psyop in a way. That's how the media works and all of that as well. And Iran, there have been way bigger and way more protests supporting the government and then against these rebels who have been fighting against the governments and everything, because they're shooting ordinary people. So the news agencies here, they don't talk about that. So the what the US is trying to do, and so they don't talk about the sanctions that US has placed, which is leading to like women and children and babies dying every day just because they can't get milk or medicine. Well, you don't hear about that.
so I don't.
So wait, for your point, let me
More
just.
political. It's not about representation of Islam.
I don't like the direction this is going because
Why?
I think this is not what my question. So I wasn't okay. So I want to change.
No, that was it.
We went down the tangent. So I want to finish this one saying that there are Muslim
I
countries.
also have to go once it's 1 hour. So
Yeah.
let's put
So
it
there are
up.
Muslim countries that do not support Iran. So like there are Muslim countries that don't agree that Iran is actually implementing a proper Islam. You can't force a bunch of people. Like one of the big rules in Islam is there's no compulsion in religion. Yet they are forced.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to go down that direction because I actually didn't mention the word religion. I mentioned the word God. I'm saying theism. What is the downside of?
Well,
somebody-
no, theism is actually organized religion.
Okay, let
So
me
deism.
So let me give you deism. So let me give you an example of myself. Musal can complete this. So by the age of 21, from my birth to 21, I've always believed in God, but I did not follow an organized religion. That's an actual thing. He can confirm that too. He met me when I was 18. So by 21, I believed in God. I didn't follow any organized religion. So let's take that period. So let's just say somebody being a theist. And I used to pray. I prayed at night. before going to bed that I did once a day every day. So,
Nice, okay.
what is the downside of someone believing that?
If you're a deist,
If you're a deist,
I don't think there's almost no downside to being a deist.
so there's no downside, and it's instinctive.
Deist is when it gets a little bit dangerous. But
So it's no downside, and it's instinctive. So this is a major question. I always want to ask atheists, like, why
well, like, let's see. Let me think about it. Is there a downside to being deist?
deist, right? So just
I don't
believing
think
that.
so. I don't think so. I think I think it's overall a pro, but it is a very it is the logical position, and it's non-scientific.
But
So
And
that's
let's
the
also
con.
agree.
That's the con.
I think most people in the West are that, by the way. I think most people are not atheists. I think most people are deists here, because from my conversations with them, they do believe in something.
No, agnostic. Usually, it's agnostic when they don't care about religion. Religion's so deist. Religion is still a significant part of your life. You know,
I didn't have a religion until 12.
like. Did you do pray or anything?
I just put my way.
Oh, that's deist.
Yeah.
So you were a deist, but agnostic. The difference between agnostic and deist is agnostic does nothing religious, nothing spiritual. As far as like an agnostic wouldn't pray like you would, but a deist would, right?
Yeah. So I'm saying, why fight an instinct that is natural and has no downside? Why?
No, there. Actually, you should like. It's good to be deist. It's good to be deist.
So, question two: you're not a deist.
Why
So
am I
that's-
not a deist?
Yeah.
Because it is illogical and it's just non-scientific. So okay, so deists, what they say is basically like, okay, none of the they don't want to be attached to any of the religions, right?
That was me.
So they're like, I don't want to be attached to any of the religions. None of them jive with me, and I don't believe in any of them. But I do believe in a higher power, bigger spirituality, right? And that's like the deist path, right? But the thing is if you just look at it scientifically and everything, the chance of that is like literally like it's like it's almost you're like almost there, but then like you're just like, but you could still meditate without being religious and stuff like that and still believe in that, which is okay, like completely okay. But it is intellectually wrong.
So let me ask you this question, and then we can
Because it's like, and scientifically, the chance of God existing is like way less than it is.
So we can debate
Like,
on the chances of God existing, but
Yeah.
that's separate. I don't even want to go down that road,
And
because
agnostics believe like 99% chance God doesn't exist. Deists believe that God exists, but
but I'll ask you
it's
another
on-
question, and
Jewish
this is
faith.
the route I like to go, because it's the one that's closest to me and it makes the most sense. When you have a girlfriend, you love her, right?
Yeah.
When you fell in love with her, did you go to a doctor and say, "Can you give me a report of my hormones in my bloodstream to see if I actually love her or if it's just my placebo?" You didn't do that, right?
no.
Because it is instinctive. I feel like I love her. It gives me no harm. It gives me no benefits. Why fight? I'll just accept it. It doesn't need to be logical. You did it. Why do people marry? Let's be honest about this, right? In the West today, there are many downsides of actually having official marriage. Today, in the West, there are quite a bit of downsides. People still marry. They know it's not logical in the West. They still do. Why? Because it feels right for them, right? So why fight? You didn't fight in those cases. You let your instinct take over when it didn't harm you and it was natural. But for whatever reason, when it comes to God, you want to fight that instinct. What is that driving force here?
Mhm.
Why didn't that driving force didn't take place with your girlfriend, let's say?
Well, how is those are just incomparable. You know what I mean?
Why not?
So one, you're
How did you know you loved your girlfriend for a fact, scientifically?
scientifically no. There was
Do you
no
know love
scientific
exists
way.
scientifically?
No.
Okay, but you believe it. Do you believe
There
it?
is
Do you
like
believe in love?
from what I did read on love and affection, there is like a love chemical that you get being around somebody that you've known for a while and like. stuff like that,
Did
so.
you get that measured when it's
No, of course not. No.
So that's my point, right? Why fight that when it comes to God?
But that's you can't just like be like that's actually a logical fallacy, right?
Why is that logical fallacy?
Because you're saying one thing leads to this, another thing leads to that. So aren't
Okay.
they equal?
So-
Why don't you do both?
Okay, let's do parallel, right?
You know what I mean?
So okay, you do believe in love.
Mhm.
So when you like well, at some point with your girlfriend you said I love her, right? At some point
Yeah, sure.
you didn't look for any logical proof of that, right? You
Well,
didn't.
the logical proof is she saying I love you back.
So before she said I love you back, okay. How about this? A pure logician would say, oh, she
Yeah.
says it. But where's the 100% proof that actually true? What if she
You
said I
never know
love you?
100%.
You never get 100%
Yeah,
correct.
you never-
What is the likelihood that maybe, and I'm not Italian, she wouldn't do that, but I'm just generally speaking,
Sure.
in general senses. And by the way, one second, I need to connect the charger before this dies. But yeah, let me just connect.
What's your podcast stream called?
What is it called? Convey Islam.
Convey Islam?
Yeah, you're on Convey Islam, bro.
Convey?
Yeah, Convey.
Oh, cool.
It's actually first stream.
Oh, cool.
Wanted to do it for a long time. Yeah, okay. I know Italian, I know she wouldn't do it, right? But let's say take a random woman that you don't know.
Sure.
What if she's saying that because you make good money, she wants to be living
For
in
sure.
your house, she wants to take advantage of you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't go down the scientific path. Say, okay, let me actually take her to a doctor. Let me see if she actually has those hormones reported. You don't do that. You just say, look, instinctively I love her.
But there's still logical things that you can see that develop and stuff, right? Like, how does she show that she loves you? You know what I mean? Is she like at home when she says she's at home? That kind of stuff. So like, is she mostly with me? Like, you know, like that kind of stuff. There's logical signs. There's like cemented signs, right?
Mhm.
That it's like, here it is, right?
But you see those signs because you try to establish a relationship with her, correct?
What do you mean? What?
So if you didn't talk to her at all, would you see those signs?
If I didn't talk to her at all?
Yeah. Have you ever tried praying?
Like I've tried meditating.
But have you ever tried praying to God? Like in a Christian way or Jewish way, any way?
Maybe when I was a kid, but
Do you remember that? Did you actually do it or you just say maybe I don't remember? Or did you actually
yeah, like in school and stuff, they always had like some kind of prayer or whatever.
But did you do it with a sincere intention? I actually went through that.
Because
here's what I'm trying to say, right?
So, like, God is such a flawed concept, like completely. Like when you think about it, it's just like, because okay, so the idea of God, any way you look at it, it's a horrendous thing. So it's like you can't win. So if there is a God that can do anything and is all powerful, why isn't God helping us in any way? Life is so fucking horrible, dude. There's billions of people.
I wanna quote something and say I
Come on.
wanna ask God why He doesn't stop evil, but I'm too afraid He'll ask me the same question. If you think deeply about it, it in many ways it shows itself, right? Like I was talking to my mother recently.
What kind of a thing is that? God's all powerful, though. You're not. What the fuck?
No, but look, why would He act if He gave us free will for a reason, right? He sent us here, gave us
Dude,
free
we're
will,
like,
said run, and let's see what. But okay,
dude, the amount of agony that the human race has
Yeah.
had to go through is ridiculous, dude. To get to this point,
but
fucking
if there is
point,
afterlife,
you know how much?
but if there is
suffering-
afterlife, assuming.
the most brutal shit,
No, but
bro.
let's assume there's afterlife.
Ugh.
Then this horror is not a big deal if there's
Are
afterlife.
you serious, dude? Like, imagine being like a barbarian and like a bunch of Vikings come and like
And
kill
kill you.
all the men, rape all the women, and then kill all the babies and like
And then you die,
take them
right?
as slaves.
But if there's
No,
afterlife,
they take them as slaves and then they fucking.
so
It's fucking horrible shit, dude.
but do you also admit that? Okay, given the paradigm of this universe and how great it is,
How great it is?
how great the universe is.
We've made it great.
You did make great universe.
Yes.
Did you-
Humans
are
have
you-
made it great.
Are you creator of yourself? Are you creator of the universe?
Bro, the only good shit. Check this out. I'm gonna tell you this straight out. The only and I just kind of thought about this when you actually think about it. The only good shit is the shit that humans have made.
Would humans be able to make that stuff if they didn't have eyes and nose?
No,
and
of course
hands?
not. But it doesn't matter.
How does
The
it
environment is so fucking hostile. Like there's plagues, there's
So,
fucking
interesting.
viruses.
So okay.
It's,
So you just mentioned
it's a
yourself.
fucked up. Imagine, would you put a bunch of living beings? Would you, as a human? Let's say you have like a bunch of microscopic living beings, and you can kind of like go look through a microscope and see what they're doing.
What
would
if
you
what
just
if-
would you just put them in this horrendous place where most of them are gonna die, and then their kids are mostly gonna die, and then their kids are mostly gonna die?
So there's a.
Would you do that? Would you do that?
I would if it's a test.
And they're screaming for you.
Yeah.
And they're praying for
I-
you.
and
Help! Help! Help!
What if I tell you this? And
Come
this is
on,
Islamic
dude.
step. What if I tell
Okay, 1 second, Anar, bro, my time's coming to an end. I have to go get somewhere. It was really nice meeting you for the
participate
first
as
time.
much
I
as-
didn't get much to talk to you, but
Yeah,
it would be
next time.
awesome if when you're free this week, if you could just come on the stream just like this, and then it would be Anar, you and I, like three
Yeah.
people together.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
Rusal, we need more of you involved because this time it was just me and Marco really just going at it.
Hey, you
Yeah,
jumped in.
I'm third wheeling hard, bro.
Yeah, it's hard on.
Well, before we finish, are you jumping off right now? Like, we have a minute because I want to I
Yeah,
wanna hear
minute.
this. Can you talk because I think you'll do a better
Like
job. at this.
like a
Yeah.
minute in real time or in Azeri 1 minute.
Azir, no, it's not Azir Rahman. It's a real. He knows as well, but if that's not wrong.
Okay.
So I want you. I don't want you to argue with this. I want him to finish. This
Yeah,
one,
go.
because it's Convey Islam. It's not Convey atheism or agnosticism.
Yeah, hit me with some Islam.
Give. This is what I think you should do. Can you give him Islamic reason why we exist and why we exist in the dunya? And dunya is this world that we call dunya.
Yeah, I would love to get into this. That's why I'm saying whenever
Just
you're
finish it with a quick quote from Quran. It's quite easy. It's like everyone knows. It's quite basic example of what this
I
world
don't
is.
like to do quick things. I like to. I've been having a good time just listening because he's been making very good logical points, and I've agreed to a lot of his points. To the point that he's just making logical points. So I've been quite entertained. But then I would like to be a part of the conversation, so the three of us can be on the stream together. So then instead of just me putting out, just saying a blurb in a minute, I would just get to know you and have a proper conversation. Because,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
good, man.
no, let's do this. Let's do this. We finally got the stream working, so that was the challenge.
working now, eh?
Yeah.
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 Well, it's good. I guess I'll finish it myself then with one.
Yeah, you finish it. I'm just
So
gonna.
in Islam, and for any viewers, we believe that inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, which means to God we belong and to Him we will return.
1 second, let me go, bro.
Oh, you're going? No, well, I want to finish it with the thing. And
Okay,
then,
okay. You want to
yeah,
finish?
so I want to just finish it with the Islamic quote and
Okay,
then just
go for it.
finish the stream here. Is in Islam we believe that inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, which means to God we belong and to Him we will be returned. And we also believe, based on the Quran, and this is something that always resonated with me, is we will be tested with good and with evil. And every person has a custom test. And the purpose of life in general for humans is to worship God and God alone, right? This is the reason mankind was created. And when mankind was created, mankind was given free will. Something
1 second.
Yeah.
So explain to Marco also what worship means, because then from that statement, it also seems like worshiping all the time. Oh my God, that's
No, so worship means
all the time.
adoration, expression of love, attempt to connect, attempt to
Sex
appreciate.
is worship too. If you do it the
Not in
halal-
relation to what I'm talking about, but yes.
no, in the relation to what you're talking about, sex
Yeah.
is worship too. If you do it the halal way. So even that even
It's a form. Okay, worship also includes
Like,
gratitude.
that
So-
is what worship is, because that's an important point in my opinion. Because when people hear that we weren't made for anything except worship, that's quite heavy. That what the fuck am I? Oh, sorry, excuse me. That am I just supposed to pray worship all the time? But then they worship it just breaks down to doing everything in life. But then when you're aware of the existence of God and you're being aware of what I'm doing the halal and the haram way, then life becomes awesome, because then you realize, okay, I can be having sex and going to heaven, bro. That's awesome. You
Yeah,
know, I can be feeding my wife, I can be cooking for her or something, you know, and then that's also worship.
So the main point here being is that in Islam, part of worship is gratitude. So when he mentions things like sex or things like food, etc., is expressing gratitude to God is a form of worship. So in Islam, we believe that we were created for a sole purpose of worshiping God and appreciating His creation. That's the reason we're here. Because would there be light if there were no eyes, and would there be sound if there were no ears? This, by the way, is a Buddhist philosophy, but I think it really resonates with Islam as well if you think about it, because we are here to appreciate the creation. And in Islam, that's what we believe. And we're here to worship God and God alone, and not to worship the creation, but worship the Creator. And the reason this world exists in Islam, that's what we believe in, I think it's important for our viewers, is this place is a place of test. It's a place of a short-term test. And if we decouple, if we stop trying to make this place a paradise and understand it for what it is, which is it's a place of test, the suffering will decrease. On this note, I want to wrap this up because this in itself, I know he has the one of arguments for this, but I think we'll put it for the next stream.
It's been a good evening. It's been a fun time with all of
I
you.
think so.
Yeah.
Please don't argue with me offline because we'll keep it for the streams. Fine. Thank you everyone for watching. Please
And,
click the like button. Click
yeah, and
subscribe.
thanks Marco too. And Marco, let's do this one time with all three of us. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. Take care, brother. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Bye.
We'll leave studio.